Chapter 32:24. Unexpectedly, 3 years ago, my mother suddenly contracted a strange disease. After the doctor's diagnosis, he said that only the resurrected demon fruit in Tianguang ruins could cure her. My father and my mother loved each other deeply. In order to cure my mother, he disregarded his own safety and entered Tianguang ruins. When Ma Quishan said this, his expression fluctuated and his eyes revealed deep hatred. Unexpectedly, it was all a conspiracy. My mother was not sick at all, but was poisoned. It was to deceive my father into entering Tianguang ruins. Ever since we entered the Heavenly Light ruins, my father has never woken up. And that group of villains took the opportunity to rob my Ma family's property. In the end, my mother died of poison, and my father's body was taken away by his trusted subordinates to escape. I resisted desperately to buy time for my father, but my Dantian was destroyed and I was thrown into Gravel Hill. My life was worse than death. Ma Quishan choked and said, I originally thought that my father had died long ago, and I was prepared to be loyal to Miss for the rest of my life and never betray her. Unexpectedly, a few days ago, when I accidentally returned to the place where my father and I parted, I saw the message left by my father's trusted subordinates. Scholar Zhou Zixuan's expression changed. You told them that we came out of Gravel Hill? No, how dare I? Ma Quishan shook his head repeatedly. Miss once told us not to let anyone know that we came out of Gravel Hill before the time was right. Quishan kept this in mind and never dared to forget it for a moment. I just couldn't help but secretly follow them, and found that my father's body was still alive, but it had become as thin as a match. Because for 3 years, his divine soul had been trapped in Tianguang ruins and had never come out. Ma Quishan kowtowed to Mu Yin again and again, his tears falling like rain. Miss, I know I am ungrateful, but as a son, how can I not save my father when I know he is still alive and suffering in the Tianguang ruins? I beg you, let me go to Tianguang ruins. Your kindness, I can only repay you in my next life. Mu Yin said with some hesitation, Is Tianguang ruins very scary? Isn't it a peaceful place specially used for trading, learning from each other, and gathering information? Zhou Zixuan exhaled softly and said, Miss, the place of peace you speak of is the Tianguang ruins a long time ago. 20 years ago, Tianguang ruins underwent a strange change. It turned out that more than 20 years ago, the Tianguang ruins, which was originally bustling with people, was now filled with people. Suddenly, without any warning, everyone inside was chased out. Soon after, no one could enter the Tianguang ruins for a whole 5 years, until everyone had almost forgotten the existence of the Tianguang ruins. The biggest ruling forces on the floating island were the Lan family empire and the 3 alliances, the Burning Moon Alliance, the Sacred Heaven Alliance, and the Life Moon Alliance. They actually issued a bounty mission at the same time. The content of the mission was to let people enter the Tianguang ruins to search for the treasures on the list. There were all kinds of treasures, including heavenly deity artifacts that even the first-rate families of the floating island could not obtain. There were also king elixirs that could bring the dead back to life. There were countless precious natural treasures, rare spirit herbs, and immortal herbs. Those who accepted the bounty mission only had to enter the Tianguang ruins, find these treasures, and come out safely. Then they could receive generous rewards from the Lan family empire and the 3 alliances. When the bounty was issued, all the cultivators on the floating island flocked to it. Chapter 32:25. Who knew that after entering the Heavenly Light ruins, he would discover that the place had already changed. The once bustling and ancient town had been reduced to ruins. The rules that restricted fights and maintained peace had long since disappeared without a trace. As long as you were strong enough, you could do whatever you wanted in there and become a king. One had to know that it wasn't a human's physical body that was in the Tianguang ruins, but a divine soul. Once the divine soul was injured, there would be no buffer. It was 100 times scarier than the physical damage. Therefore, on the first day the bounty was announced, half of the people in Tianguang ruins died. Even if the remaining half survived by a fluke, even if they found a treasure, they would not be able to survive. However, he was also scared and panicked. He desperately wanted to escape. However, it was only then that they discovered the most terrifying aspect of the Tianguang ruins. The people inside couldn't come out. No, it wasn't that he couldn't get out, but if one wanted to leave the Heavenly Light ruins, there were strict rules. Zhou Zixuan said, "People call the mutated Sky Light ruins the Massacre Sky Light ruins. Because in this Tianguang ruins, besides the treasures hidden everywhere and the cruel law of survival of the fittest, there is also a slaughter list." Slaughter list? Mu Yin stares blankly. That's right. This massacre roll records the names of the top 1,000 soul masters who killed the most living beings in the Sky Light ruins within the past 3 months. Zhou Zixuan answered, "These beings can be the desolate beasts conjured from the Tianguang ruins, or they can be humans." Mu Yin frowned slightly. Is the condition to leave Tianguang ruins related to this slaughter list? Zhou Zixuan nodded. Only the 1,000 people on the slaughter list are qualified to leave Tianguang ruins. Mu Yin looks pensive. His fingers subconsciously touched the floating light jade key. This thing was given to her by Little Tian. Since she was sent to the floating island, it should have something to do with the Tianguang ruins. But she tried several times here, but she was unable to enter the Tianguang ruins. So there was actually such an unforeseen event. Mu Yin suddenly said, "How can I enter the heavenly ruins of Massacre?" The whole place fell into a deathly silence. Zhou Zixuan stammered, "Miss, you wouldn't be going to Tianguang ruins, right? Please, please don't." Mu Yin beckons Ma Quishan with her finger. "You speak." Ma Quishan was also dumbfounded. With a sobbing tone, he said, "Miss, you might not know this, but the people left in the heavenly light ruins of Massacre are basically all experts above the mysterious life realm. Those people kill people like flies and are bloodthirsty. I have no choice but to go because of my father. You must not take the risk." Mu Yin frowns, still wanting to speak. The people around him had already knelt down one by one and shouted, "City Lord, please reconsider. Your precious body must not be risked." These people were not loyal to Mu Yin to this extent. It was because they knew too well that the young woman before them was the backbone of Liberty City. Mu Yin is speechless for a while. She pursed her lips and considered whether she should ask Wei Mian, the bold one, or just take Ma Quishan and leave. At this moment, the clear and deep voice of the youth rang out from the void. "Mu Yin wants to know how to enter the Tianguang ruins? Why are you asking them? I'll tell you." Hearing this familiar voice, Mu Yin jerks her head around. His breathing suddenly quickened, and he hurriedly took a few steps back. Chapter 32:26. Close at hand. The face that was too big to be seen slowly became clear. Cold white skin, light pink lips, and the signature bright red scarf covering his face. Li Weiran, why did this pervert come back? Mayan's brows jumped, and she was about to speak. She saw a small figure suddenly rush in front of her, protecting her behind him. Xiaobao's expression was usually cold and calm, but now his icy blue eyes were so cold that it seemed like ice shards would fall. He was looking at Li Weiran with full vigilance. Li Weiran looked down. He was stunned to see Xiaobao. He couldn't help but reach out with his slender white hand, as if he wanted to touch Xiaobao's eyes. Buzz! The Bixia sword in Xiaobao's hand trembled, about to be unsheathed. But Mine reacted quickly and hugged him, protecting him in her arms. She looked at Li Weiran coldly. "What do you want to do to my son?" "Your son?" Li Weiran tilted his head, looking interested. "So Mine, you have a son?" His next sentence turned into a voice transmission. "How many years has it been since I last saw a child with a natural immortal body? Mine, you are unique, and your child is really interesting." Mine frowned. "Li Weiran, what do you want to do?" "Nothing much. I missed you, so I couldn't help but come over." Mayan sneered. "Couldn't help but come over to kill me? Do you want to draw another bolt of lightning to kill me?" Li Weiran felt wronged. Mine was the one who drew that bolt of lightning. "How can you blame me? I even risked my life to block it for you. Look, the scar left on my hand. It still hurts." The hand that reached over was slender and fair, with well-proportioned joints. It was like a work of art carved out of the most perfect white jade. There wasn't a single flaw. "What fucking scar? What fucking faint pain?" Muyin only feels a swelling pain in her temples. She had never met such a perverted and shameless person before. She couldn't beat him, and she couldn't kill him. Unreasonable and ruthless, going back on his words like a fart. His skin was as thick as a city wall. Last time, she finally waited for Di Mingju to hammer him to death, but this guy ran away faster than a ghost. Muyin couldn't help but let out a long sigh. He carried Xiaobao with one hand and picked up Ma Quishan, who was still in a daze, with the other. He turned around and left. He stood on the 7 Absolute Sword and flashed swiftly towards the Dark Parasol Desert according to Ma Quishan's guidance. The Dark Parasol Desert was called a desert, but only half of it was actually a desert. The other half, with the Spirit Azure River as the dividing point, was picturesque and beautiful. On the other hand, the Dark Parasol Desert was the base of the Luoyuan Alliance that was one of the kingdom's 3 alliances and 8 great sects on the floating island. According to Ma Quishan, the heavenly light ruins of Massacre could no longer be entered with the Jade Key. One had to be in the imperial city of the Lan family empire, or in a special formation set by the Luoyuan Alliance, the Sacred Heaven Alliance, and the Life Moon Alliance. Only with the Jade Key given by them could one enter the Slaughtering Sky light ruins. Ma Quishan said cautiously, "Miss, do you really want to enter the Tingguang ruins?" Muyin glanced at him and said faintly, "Describe your father's appearance and life in detail. I will help you find him, so you don't have to enter the Tingguang ruins." How can this be? Ma Quishan was anxious and excited. How can this subordinate not stay by your side and protect you? Chapter 32-27. Remember Love Net in 1 second, providing you with exciting reading. Muyin glanced at him disdainfully. "Don't get it wrong. I don't want you to go to Tingguang ruins, because I don't want to bring along a burden." Ma Quishan, T_T miss. Do you have to be so direct? Would it kill you to let me be touched for a while longer? Muyin, can I go to Tingguang ruins with you? Hearing the familiar voice, Muyin couldn't help but roll her eyes and say, "Scram." Xiaobao, who was in Muyin's arms, hugged his mother's neck tightly and glared at Li Weiran. He was clearly a cute little doll, but at this moment, the vigilance and killing intent in his eyes were so real that it made people feel uneasy. Li Weiran looked at Muyin and then at Xiaobao, but he laughed softly. The eyes behind the red silk shone with a strange, flirtatious light. Most of the Luoyuan Alliance's forces are in the Oasis, but the transfer point to Tingguang ruins is set in the Dark Parasol Desert. The 7 Absolute Swords slowly stopped in front of a city in the yellow sand. This city didn't cover a large area, and the construction was extremely simple. It formed a sharp contrast with the bustling city in the oasis north of the Spirit Azure River. As soon as they landed, the wind and sand hit them in the face, causing Muyin and the others to be covered in dust. When they followed the direction of the city to the city gate, they all looked a little disheveled. Even the well-dressed Li Weidi looked unkempt and dirty, like a beggar. The guard at the city gate opened his eyes in a daze and looked at them strangely. "Are you planning to enter Tingguang ruins to look for treasures?" Seeing the 3 nod, the guard looked at them with pity and disdain. Then he sneered and handed them a gray jade ring full of impurities. "Go, go, go. As long as you are in the Dark Parasol City, no matter where you try to activate the jade ring with your divine sense, you can enter Tingguang ruins. Of course, your bodies will be left outside, so if you want to have a chance of survival, find a room and hide." Li Weiran took the jade ring and couldn't help but ask, curiously, "Don't we need to register?" The guard looked at him as if he was looking at an idiot. Seeing how serious Li Weiran was, he couldn't help but laugh out loud. "Registration? What's the point of registering someone who's about to die?" Li Weiran seemed to be unconvinced and wanted to argue with the guard. In the end, Muyin didn't care about him at all. She pulled Ma Quishan and entered the city. Li Weiran pursed his lips and followed unwillingly. "Muyin, don't you think it's too hot here?" Dust and sand filled the air, and there was a foul smell. "It's really boring. Shall we change the place? I think the Sacred Heaven Alliance's Mountain of Wonders is not bad." Muyin stops and coldly looks at him. "Either shut up or get lost." The youth in front of him pursed his lips as if he wanted to say something, but in the end he remained silent. Li Weiran had never been one to listen. Previously, in the gravel hill, he had to think of ways to torture her every time. But this time, when he returned, he was surprisingly obedient. Along the way, he did whatever he was told to do. Never talked back after being scolded. Even those pranks that he used to torture her did not appear again. However, Mu Yin didn't relax. Instead, she became even more vigilant. This little pervert is so docile. Who knows, he might be preparing for some big move. Mobile users, please browse and read. For a better reading experience, please visit the website. Chapter 32-28. Remember LoveNet, providing you with exciting reading. Kangwoo City is not so much a city, but rather 3 strange ring-shaped buildings. Each building occupies tens of thousands of square meters and is 10 stories high. Each floor is separated into thousands of rooms. From afar, it looks extremely majestic. However, walking inside, it's eerie and frightening. Strange runes can be seen scribbled on the outer wall's peeling walkway. You can also see a lot of blackened bloodstains. When walking past the broken windows, you can even hear the terrifying howling of the wind. There are illuminating crystals on the corridors of each floor. But perhaps because the energy blocks have been exhausted, the light emitted by these crystals is dim and flickering. It adds a bit of gloomy and mournful ghostly atmosphere to the surrounding atmosphere. Ma Quishan is a tribulation cultivator who has experienced the vicissitudes of life. At this moment, he can't help but feel a chill down his spine. Even his voice has a bit of a tremble. Miss, do you really want to enter the Tianguang ruins? You don't understand the current Tianguang ruins of massacre. That place is really far more terrifying than you think. You don't have to take this risk for me. Mu Yin is too lazy to respond to his sentimental sentiments. She randomly finds an empty room and pushes the door to enter. Creak! The old iron door makes an ear-piercing sound. Dust sprinkles down from above. Mu Yin is about to enter when her heart suddenly shudders. She suddenly looks to the side. She doesn't know when, but a gap has been opened in the room next door. A pair of glowing green eyes is looking at her from inside. It's a woman with disheveled hair and a face full of blood. Seeing Mu Yin look over, the corners of her mouth immediately rise up, revealing 2 rows of white teeth. But there seems to be some red powder on those teeth. Mu Yin frowns and is about to speak. But she hears a bang, and the door is closed. And this sound seems to have alarmed the others. 2 more doors open around them, and a few tall and sturdy men walk out. Seeing Mu Yin and Li Weiran, their eyes brighten. TSK. How long has it been since I saw a woman in this Kangwoo City? Little girl, do you want to seek death in Tianguang ruins at such a young age? Why don't I give you a chance? As long as you serve me well, I'll guarantee that you can live for 3 months in the Tianguang ruins. How about it? You can have the woman, but I want this brother bunny. TSK. Playing with such a soft and tender man is much more enjoyable than playing with a woman. Li Weiran pursed his lips and hid behind Mu Yin. His hands that were holding onto her clothes seemed to be trembling in fear. When Xiao Bao saw this scene, he was so angry that he clenched his fists. He wanted nothing more than to rush out and beat up this bad guy who dared to covet his mother. The exorcism sword buzzed and said, "Damn, this acting can even compete for an Oscar." Along the way, he had witnessed Little Bao and Li Weiran's battle. Even though Li Weiran always looked like he was enduring and giving in, even asking Mu Yin for help from time to time. But anyone with eyes could see that his strength was much higher than Mu Yin and Xiao Bao's. At first, Mine was still on guard against him in every possible way. But there was really nothing she could do about him. Seeing that he really wasn't playing any tricks this time, she thought. In the end, he could only let him be. Chapter 32-29. Bang! In response to them, Mu Yin slammed the door shut. Li Weiran barely managed to squeeze through the crack of the door. He heard the curses of several men outside. Shameless bitches. I'll make them cry later. Mu Yin turned a deaf ear to the curses outside. She took out the talisman and pasted it on the door. In a split second, a powerful protective cover enveloped the whole room, isolating the sound outside. Muyin took out the jade ring and looked at Ma Quishan. You guard here. If I don't come out after 10 days, take my body back to Liberty City. Saying that, she handed Ma Quishan a stack of talismans. The top few are invisibility talismans, and the others are defense talismans and imperial talismans. Anyway, you can do as you see fit. Ma Quishan took them in a daze, feeling a little dizzy. Talismans? These were all precious talismans? Was it the infamily of the Gathering Spirit City, the only one who was good at talismans? Moreover, Ma Quishan had heard of invisibility talisman and imperial talisman. Those were all treasures that were hard to find. But the miss actually gave him a stack of them all at once? Muyin frowned. What? You can't even do this? Or do you have to go to Tianguang ruins to find your father? No. Ma Quishan shook his head repeatedly. This subordinate can do it. Miss, rest assured, even if I die, this subordinate will definitely protect your body. Muyin nodded and was about to go in. But in a flash, a small figure appeared in front of her. Niangqin. Xiaobao grabbed Muyin's hand and said eagerly, Xiaobao will go in with you. Muyin shook her head. Not for the time being. The situation in Tianguang ruins is unknown. It's too dangerous. Let Niangqin go in and explore first, okay? Xiaobao showed a struggling and unwilling expression. Xiaobao, be good. Niangqin will definitely come out alive. Regarding Tianguang ruins, Muyin always had a kind of blind confidence. She always felt that no matter how dangerous this place was, she would not be hurt. Moreover, she still had the floating light jade key. Muyin believed that this thing was definitely related to the Tianguang ruins of the floating island. But Xiaobao was different. She would never allow her baby to take such a risk. Xiaobao pursed his small mouth and finally lowered his head. After sending Xiaobao back to the Tian Mo-Chin space, Muyin grasped the jade slit ring and is about to enter it with her divine sense. She watched as Li Weiran walked to her side and sat beside her against the wall. The slightly pale thin lips slowly hooked up, revealing a youthful and clear smile. Muyin, don't be afraid. No matter how dangerous Tianguang ruins is, I will definitely protect you. Muyin rolls her eyes. If you don't harm me, I'll be Ba. I won't harm you anymore, Li Weiran said calmly. If you die, no one in this world will be able to grow the dark cloud spirit flower. When the lightning struck, I realized that I didn't want you to die. There is no deep hatred between us. Since I don't want you to die, I will follow my heart and protect you. It doesn't matter if you don't believe me now. As time passes, you will eventually believe me. Muyin stares blankly at the youngster in front of her. She really wants to roll her eyes again to show her disdain and disbelief. But for some reason, there was an intuition in the depths of his heart. This time, what Li Weiran said was the truth. After saying these words, Li Weiran lay down and slowly closed his eyes. The jade pendant in his hand emitted a faint light. Muyin frowned and did not speak anymore. She instantly activated the jade pendant in her hand and entered Tianguang ruins. Chapter 32:30. His soul seemed to be shaken violently by something. Muyin abruptly opened her eyes and saw rows of blood-red words floating in the air. Yi Liangchen, welcome to the slaughtering world of Tianguang ruins. Now announcing the iron rules of the bloodshed universe. The first rule is that any newcomers who enter the world of bloodshed can only leave after staying for 3 months in the Skylight ruins. The time difference between Tianguang ruins and reality is 10-1. The second rule is that the rebirth points are divided into north, south, east, and west. Whichever rebirth point you enter from, you must leave from that rebirth point. Otherwise, you won't be able to return to your body, and your soul will perish. The third rule: only 1,000 people on the Carnage roll have the qualifications to leave the Tianguang ruins. Fourth, the way to obtain points is by killing people or dire beasts. You get 10 points for every wild beast you kill, 10 points for every person you kill, plus half of the person's original points. The fifth rule: anyone who finds a treasure in the Tianguang ruins can take it away with the jade key. Only the core, floating light island, Mayan is engrossed in reading it, when suddenly the words in front of her eyes sway and unexpectedly disappear. Another line of text popped up in front of her. "Excuse me, are you sure you want to enter the massacre world of Tianguang ruins?" Little Tian. Tian. Mu Yin did not answer immediately. Instead, she controlled her body to turn in a different direction in the chaos and shouted loudly. However, after shouting for a long time, there was no response at all. Mu Yin sighs in disappointment and is about to answer yes. Suddenly, out of the corner of his eye, he saw a faintly discernible figure in the distant void. He was a handsome young man with neat short hair and strange clothes. Little Tian. Isn't this little Tian? It was just that the short-haired youth in the past always had a sunny, cheerful, naive, and sweet look. Even though the youth in front of him had a blurry appearance, he could see that his expression was grave and stern, and his eyes were sinister. His entire person exuded a ghastly aura. It's just that Mind's entire body and mind are filled with the joy of finally seeing Xiao Tian. For a moment, she doesn't notice this subtle change. "Little Tian, I finally meet you." Her figure flickered, and she appeared in front of little Tian. She was just about to speak. Suddenly, a cold and slender finger touched her forehead. An emotionless and cold voice rang in his ears. "I am not the sky, but the light." A bone-piercing chill came from his divine soul, followed by a sharp pain in his brain. Mind's body spasms in pain, and she almost collapses to the ground. Little Tian looked down at her from above, and there was no warmth in his dark eyes. "This is your punishment for being rude." Mind endures the bone-chilling pain in her head and raises her head to look at the youth in front of her. His words echoed in her mind. "I am not the sky, but the light." Suddenly remembering something, his eyes widened as he blurted out, "You're Xiao Guang?" "Yes." Back then, Little Heaven had said that it was very happy to see its first host. If Little Light and Little Su knew about this, they would definitely envy him. At that time, she had been curious about who Little Light and Little Su were. Hearing Mu Yan's words, the youth in front of him was stunned, and a trace of confusion appeared in his expression. He muttered, "You call me Little Light. Who is calling me?" "First generation." Suddenly, a pained expression appeared on his face. He hugged himself with both hands as his body trembled violently. Because of his trembling, the entire Tianguang ruins primal chaos space seemed to tremble. "Little Light, what's wrong?" Chapter 32-31. 1 second to remember. Love Net, providing you with wonderful reading. Mu Yin supports the youth who is on the verge of collapse. "Why does your expression look so painful? Tell me what happened." Little Guang raises his head, his misty gaze falling on Mu Yan's face. His lips open and close, making a vague sound. "First generation. Host, I. Before he can finish speaking, his body fiercely twitches, and his eyes suddenly seem to clear up a bit, but also seem to be stained with a bone-chilling frost. "You shouldn't have come here," he says word by word in a clear and mellow voice unique to youth. Mu Yin is about to ask, when suddenly the world before her eyes spins, and her body heavily smashes onto the hard ground. She hears a mechanical voice that's almost the same as Little Tian's. Only, this voice doesn't have Little Tian's hidden joviality and joy, only numbness and coldness. "Yi Liang Chun, welcome to Tianguang Ruins' world of slaughter. Here, killing is not a crime, the strong are respected. Here, there is only killing and being killed. Now, please begin your journey of slaughter." Mu Yin presses her forehead and stands up. She can't help but think in her mind, what happened to Little Guang? What she sees is a broken wall with sand and dust filling the sky. Only at the far end can she see a dense forest of hills. But there's not the slightest bit of green in that forest, and it's full of vitality. From the top to the bottom, it's shrouded in a gray fog. Looking from afar, it only makes people feel eerie and cold. The air is filled with a putrid smell of blood. Mu Yin can't help but frown. How did the floating island's Tianguang ruins become like this? Just at this moment, a few silhouettes dashed over from afar and surrounded her in an instant. "Little girl, do you still remember me?" The one speaking is a brawny man with bulging muscles. Mu Yin recognizes them at a glance. They're the people she met in Kangwoo City. Previously in Kangwoo City, I told you to serve me well in exchange for 3 months of survival, but you didn't listen. Now, even if you kneel at Laozi's feet, Laozi won't let you off easily. The other person sized Mu Yin up from head to toe, yet he said with disdain, earlier in Dark Parasol City, even though you were disheveled and dirty, the exposed skin on your arms was fair and exquisite, and I thought you were a rare beauty. I didn't expect him to be so ordinary. Damn it, I was excited for nothing. I told you that Brother Bunny is the real beauty. The man who teased Li Wei Ran licked his lips. Little girl, where's your lover? If you hand him over, Grandpa promises that you'll die a quick death in Tingguang ruins. Mu Yin stares blankly at his words. She looked around, but did not see Li Wei Ran anywhere. The corner of his mouth twitched involuntarily. A moment ago, the boy had said, Mu Yin, don't be afraid. No matter how dangerous Tingguang ruins is, I will definitely protect you. His words still rang in her ears. Who knew that in the blink of an eye, not even a shadow could be seen? As expected, the words of that little pervert could be trusted. Even the sun could rise from the west. Seeing that Mu Yin doesn't speak, the faces of the men in front of her suddenly sink. Smelly whore, I gave you face, but you don't want it. Women just need to be taught a lesson. Especially those newcomers who just came in. They always think that this world of slaughter is still the fairyland-like Tingguang ruins of the past. That Brother Bunny thinks that by not entering Tingguang ruins and hiding in Kangwoo City, he can escape this disaster? Really too naive? After I'm done with this woman, let's go and have some fun with that soft-skinned kid. Mobile users, please browse and read. For a better reading experience, please visit the website. Chapter 32. 1 second. Remember, LoveNet, to provide you with exciting reading. He looked at the crowd that was approaching him step by step. Mu Yin frowns in boredom, her divine sense slightly activating. A sparkling and translucent long sword slowly appeared in her palm, overflowing with cold light. Sure enough, Tingguang ruins did not allow the use of force in the cultivation continent, so most of her weapons could not be taken out in the Tingguang ruins. But it was different here. This was the world of slaughter, which encouraged the use of force to solve problems. She lifted her head to look at the 4 people in front of her and said unhurriedly, I have some feelings for Tingguang ruins and originally didn't want to stain my hands with blood. It's a pity that you guys are unlucky and have to bump into me when I'm in a bad mood. An hour later, 3 of the 6 men who had come to bully him had already turned into white light and disappeared from the Tingguang ruins forever. The other 3 men had bloody noses and swollen faces. They trembled as they knelt on the ground, kowtowing and begging for mercy. Queen, heroine, fairy, spare me, spare me. It's all our fault for not recognizing you and offending you. Please be magnanimous and give us another chance, boo-hoo. The 3 people who had turned into white lights didn't die and leave the Tingguang ruins. Instead, his soul would truly be destroyed and he would never be able to reincarnate. It wasn't easy for them to survive in the heavenly ruins of slaughter and get through the most difficult period. They didn't want to die, so, inexplicably. Heroine, as long as you are willing to let us go, we are willing to offer all the treasures in the Jade Key to you. Yes. We are willing to serve you like cattle and horses. We only beg you to spare our lowly lives. Mu Yin glances at their heads. Their names in the Tingguang ruins were written on them. First Su's lowly life is easy to support. Second Su's lowly life is easy to support. Third Su's lowly life is easy to support. Her mouth couldn't help but twitch. What kind of stupid name was that? You guys are brothers? Suda nodded repeatedly. Yes. We are brothers. Heroine, if you have any orders, just tell us. We 3 brothers will definitely do our best to fulfill them. Mu Yin picks up the 3 jade rings that have fallen to the ground and casually probes them with her divine sense. He discovered that there were pitifully few treasures inside. She frowned in disgust and transferred everything into her jade key space. He then casually found a rock and sat down, crossing his legs as he asked casually. Then let's talk about the situation in the Tianguang ruins first. If what you say is useful, I might spare your lives. Suda, heroine, please ask. I will definitely tell you everything I know. Mayan throws away the jade in her hand. The three of them are people on the carnage list? What's your ranking? Suda shook his head and said with a flattering smile, although Brother Liu and the others have some ability, how can they compare to you, heroine? Not to mention those gods on the carnage list. This made Mayan reveal an astonished expression. Isn't it said that only the 1,000 people on the carnage list are qualified to leave Tianguang ruins? Suda said, heroine, you may not know this, but although there are 1,000 names on the slaughter roll, only the first 900 are true experts. The remaining 100 are controlled by the major forces of the Tianguang ruins. Trading position? Yes, that's right. As long as you collect enough treasures and offer them to the major forces of the Tianguang ruins as a deposit, you can get the opportunity to occupy a trading position and freely enter and exit the Tianguang ruins. Mine suddenly understood. Mobile users, please browse and read. For a better reading experience, please visit the Zii website. Chapter 32-33. 1 second to remember. LoveNet, providing you with wonderful reading. No wonder those dregs she killed could come out of the Tianguang ruins, even though they were not strong. But since they came out, why would they go back? Because most people can only pay a down payment for the treasures they have collected, and the rest of the balance is repaid indefinitely in the form of debt. If they dare to defect, they will be slaughtered by those big forces and die without a whole corpse. Muyin immediately understood. No wonder there were still so many people left in the Tianguang ruins, where killing was encouraged. It turned out that the big forces were supporting them to find the treasures in the Tianguang ruins for them. They even used coercion and bribery to attract more newcomers and expand the treasure hunting team to obtain more benefits. Mu Yin frowned. Tell me about the forces in the Tianguang ruins. Suda didn't expect that Mu Yin didn't even know this, and there was surprise in his eyes. But he still answered cautiously. In this world of bloodshed, there are a total of 3 major forces. The first is called Pavilion of Drunkenness, and its leader is Fu Iza, who ranks first on the carnage list. The second force is called Moon of West River, and its leader is Charming Lady of West River, who ranks third on the carnage list. The third force is called Thunder Gang, and its leader is Invincible Thunder, who ranks fourth on the carnage list. Just by listening to these names, she knew that the people in the Tianguang ruins were almost all rogue cultivators without any sections. But it was also right. How many people from aristocratic families would come to such a dangerous place to seek trouble? Mu Yin took out another portrait and unfolded it. Have you seen this person? According to Ma Quishan's description, Mu Yin had drawn a portrait of his father. According to Ma Quishan, it was at least 70 to 80% similar to his father. Suda and the other two hurriedly came over to take a look and then shook their heads. No, I haven't seen him. Mu Yin was a little disappointed, but felt that it was natural. The Tianguang ruins was so big, and there were countless people trapped inside. It would be good if it was so easy to find them. She tossed the 3 jade rings in her hand. These 3 had just been respectfully offered by the 3 Su brothers. Seeing the female devil casually tossing her jade keys, the hearts of the 3 jumped to their throats. The next moment, they hear Mayan say, "How long have you been in the Tianguang ruins?" Hearing this, the 3 Su brothers were stunned and became dejected. 8 years. We've been trapped here for 8 years. 8 years? Even with Mu Yan's calmness, she couldn't help but reveal a surprised expression at this time. Not even once. The 3 Su brothers nodded. We're too weak, and we don't have enough points and treasures on us. If we encounter someone like Boss Liu just now, we'll do anything to serve him. We just hope to survive in Tianguang ruins. Mu Yin looked at the trio. Don't you want to leave Tianguang ruins? Go out? How is that possible? Suda laughed bitterly. We stopped dreaming about this 8 years ago. Mayan said carelessly, I can let you leave Tianguang ruins, but the premise is that you have to work for me. What? What? Leave Tianguang ruins? How do we leave? Mayan touches her chin, muttering to herself. I'll think of something after I climb up the carnage list. Heroine, don't make fun of us again. We also know that you are very powerful, but you are still far from climbing up the carnage leaderboard. Do you know who the top few people on the carnage leaderboard are? For mobile users, please browse and read. For a better reading experience, please visit the website. Chapter 32-34. Remembering LoveNet in 1 second. Providing you with interesting reading. Susan immediately continued. Lien Ryue and Lei Wudi are experts at the peak of the mysterious life realm, and Fu Izue, who is ranked first, is at the mountain opening realm. And everyone in the top 900 of the slaughter list is at least at the middle level of the mysterious life realm. Although everyone's cultivation is suppressed to the early level of the mysterious life realm in Tianguang ruins, how can we ordinary cultivators compare to their battle experience and the strength of their divine senses? The three of them rattled off a bunch of things, although they didn't dare to be disrespectful because their lives were in Mu Yan's arms. But his expression was clearly saying, "You're just a little girl at the mortal cultivation realm, and you want to compete with a powerful person at the mysterious life realm for a spot on the slaughter list? Isn't that just a pipe dream?" Mu Yan sneered and pinched the jade in her hand, making a gurgling sound. "It's up to you whether you believe me or not, but you have to do it even if you don't want to." The three brothers of the Su family trembled in fear. Then their faces were full of resentment. They had originally planned to work hard without complaint, but now they were ordered around by this demoness. Anyway, serving Boss Lu and the others was one thing, but serving this demoness was the same thing. But who asked this demoness to boast shamelessly, even saying such a joke as wanting to enter the slaughter list? "Heroine, if you need anything, we are willing to go through fire and water. We don't need anything in return." Yes, heroine sparing our lives is already a great kindness. How would we dare to ask for anything in return? Muyan looked at the three with a faint smile and threw the jade in her hand to them. "I hope you won't regret it in the future." Regret? What did they have to regret? Suda and the other two curled their lips in disdain. Then they heard this shameless demoness ask again, "Where are we going to kill the wild beasts?" Suda pointed to the dense forest shrouded in gray fog in the distance. "Most of the wild beasts are concentrated in the forest. But, heroine, are you planning to hunt wild beasts to accumulate points?" Mu Yin raised her brows. "Why? Can I?" Was she joking? Did this female devil really plan on entering the slaughter list? And it was through killing wasteland beasts to enter the slaughter list? Suda and the other two almost burst out laughing. This woman had no common sense at all. However, even if he complained 100 times in his heart, he did not dare to show it on his face. Sudadeo said, "The slaughter list is updated once every 3 months. Right now, there are only 15 days left from the 3-month deadline. Heroine, do you know how many points the person in last place on the Carnage leaderboard has?" Su Air, it's 9,967 points. It was refreshed once every 3 months, yet there were so many points? Even Mu Yin can't help but stare blankly. Then, he immediately reacted. That was because he had killed someone. Killing a desolate beast was only worth 100 points. Killing a person was also worth 100 points. However, if they killed the person and obtained points, it would be a different story. On the other hand, the points obtained by cultivators would not be refreshed during the 3-month period. Seeing Mu Yan's expression, Suda felt smug in his heart. He thought to himself, "Now you want to rush up the rankings again? Stop daydreaming. Are you scared now? You won't dare to talk big again, right?" Who knew that in the next moment, he would hear the woman's calm and steady voice. "How many wild beasts are there in the Tianguang ruins? Will they all be killed?" This? Of course not. The dire beasts are endless. Mobile users, please browse and read. For a better reading experience, please visit the website. Chapter 32-35. 1 second remember LoveNet. To provide you with exciting reading. Suda's eyes widened slightly. "Heroine, you can't be thinking of killing wild beasts to accumulate points, right? Do you have some misunderstanding about the wild beasts in the Tianguang ruins? Those aren't ordinary savage beasts, and they aren't the summoned beasts of those weak soul masters. The divine soul of a desolate beast is usually several times stronger than that of an ordinary cultivator. Moreover, the stronger the opponent, the stronger they would become. In other words, if you are a spirit master of the mortal cultivation stage, then the wild beasts you encounter are also of the mortal cultivation stage. But if you are a spirit master of the mysterious life stage, then the wild beasts you encounter will also be of the mysterious life stage, or even higher. Therefore, in the Tianguang ruins, killing a dire beast is even more difficult than killing a person. Su Deong spoke eloquently, waiting to see the look of fear and regret on the face of this arrogant woman. Unexpectedly, the girl in front of them just casually replied with an "oh" and waved at them. "Remember to help me find the person. We'll meet here again in half a month." Without waiting for the three of them to react, he took a step forward and instantly appeared several hundred feet away. Suda and the others were left standing there in a daze. They looked at each other and could not come to their senses for a long time. Mu Yan's idea is very simple. She could slowly investigate Light's abnormality. The most important thing now was to climb up the slaughter list and be able to freely enter and leave the Tianguang ruins. For others, wild beasts were indeed more difficult to deal with than many weak cultivators. But it's different for Mu Yan. Although it was said that the stronger one was, the desolate beasts were just illusions created by Tianguang ruins. They did not have a consciousness of their own. The so-called becoming stronger when encountering a strong opponent was completely based on the level of the opponent. In other words, Mu Yan, a cultivator at the crossing tribulation stage, peak of the mortal cultivation realm, would at most encounter a mortal cultivation realm wild beast. However, as early as the first day that Mayan advanced to the crossing tribulation stage, she was already invincible at the same stage. Why would he care about a mere dire beast of the same level? Moreover, the other advantage of desolate beasts was that their spiritual sense was far more powerful than that of ordinary cultivators. But the problem was that Mayan's knowledge had long been vast and boundless. Even Wei Mian, who was a battle general, felt ashamed of his inferiority. How could desolate beasts compare? As a result, Mu Yan goes straight into the wild beast forest that others avoid like the plague, unhindered. In just 10 days, the number of desolate beasts that had died at her hands was innumerable. The dense forest that was shrouded in gray fog finally came to an end. At the end of the dark and stinky forest was a long, dark blue river. The sky was dark and gloomy, but the river reflected specks of starlight, dazzling and resplendent. However, at this moment, Mu Yan's attention was not on the river at all. Instead, it was attracted by the floating island on the other side of the river. His eyes widened slightly, revealing an expression of disbelief. Mu Yan did not know that because of her, the entire slaughtering Heaven Light ruins was in a mess at this moment. Thunder Gang, S-Base. You haven't found anything yet? Who is this Lianshan? After entering the slaughter list 4 days ago, in a short span of 4 days, he rose from 999 to within the top 500. Not yet. Trash. With such a fast speed, he must have killed someone and snatched the points. How could he not find out? Continue investigating. You must find him for me. Yes. This little one obeys. Shijiang Moon Station. Chapter 32-36. Remember LoveNet will provide you with interesting reading material. Sister you. You're just trying to keep him in your tent. You're annoying. Don't say it when you see through it. Understand? Pavilion of Drunkenness, S Station. Boss, this Yap Lianshan is too strange. I've never heard of this name before, but it popped up all of a sudden. Moreover, this rate of growth is even faster than you back then, boss. The strangest thing is that we've searched the entire slaughtering world, but we didn't find any experts with rich points who were killed. How did this Yap Lianshan climb to the 400s of the Carnage leaderboard in just a few days? Fu Izue pondered for a while and suddenly said, he didn't kill anyone, so he must have killed a wild beast. Wild beast? The subordinate couldn't help but scream, Boss, are you kidding me? How many wild beasts did he kill to achieve that? Impossible, absolutely impossible. Boss, you must have made a mistake. Yes, we must have missed someone. He wasn't on the leaderboard, But he was killed. In the Tianguang ruins, the three brothers of the Su family were in even more disbelief than the three major forces and the others. Especially in the center of the Tianguang ruins, in front of the huge leaderboard. This was the only place where fighting was prohibited, but hiding was also prohibited. In every 3 months after the leaderboard was updated, one was only allowed to stay there for a maximum of 24 hours. If one exceeded the time limit, they would be forcefully expelled. Discussions could be heard from time to time. I heard that the Thunder Gang, West River Moon, and Pavilion of Drunkenness all sent people to investigate, but none of them found out who this Yap Liangshan is. What's more strange is that we didn't hear about anyone with high points dying. How did this Yap Liangshan climb to the middle of the Carnage leaderboard? The three brothers, who had decided not to come near the rebirth point to avoid bumping into the female demon, looked at each other in dismay. They saw the dullness and absent-mindedness in each other's eyes. That's right, they didn't even have the time to be shocked. Their hearts were filled with the absent-mindedness of listening to a magical story. Big brother, I'm not seeing things right. The Yap Liangshan on the Carnage leaderboard. Is he really the Yap Liangshan that we know? Suda wiped his face. You're asking me? Who should I ask? However, although both of them were asking questions, there was already a crazed voice roaring in their hearts. It was her. It was her. It was her. The Yap Liangshan who appeared out of nowhere on the slaughter list was definitely the female devil. Why didn't anyone know her identity? This was because the demoness had just entered the Tianguang ruins 10 days ago. Why couldn't they find out that someone had been killed? This was because the demoness was constantly killing desolate beasts in the dense forest. Her points were all obtained by killing desolate beasts. Su'er took out the crumpled portrait from his bosom. Big brother, are we still going to throw this away? Bang! Suda mercilessly hit his brother's head with an explosive pellet. He carefully took the painting and opened it like a treasure. Idiot, this is our hope and future. Throw it away? Are you kidding me? Do you want to stay in Tianguang ruins forever? Su'er and Su Sin shook their heads, their eyes full of desire. Suda waved his hand and gritted his teeth. Then what are you waiting for? Observe the person in the painting carefully. Even if you have to turn the entire Tianguang ruins upside down, you must find him. Our happiness for the rest of our lives depends on him. Mobile users, please browse and read. For a better reading experience, please visit the Self-Love website. Chapter 32-37. 1 second remember, LoveNet, to provide you with exciting reading. Ahem, Su-san reminded. Big brother, you said before that you don't need the heroine to report back. Suda. Whoa, was it too late for him to regret now? Of course, Muyen was unaware of everything that happened in Tianguang ruins. At this moment, she was staring blankly at Xiao Dao, almost forgetting to breathe. That was because the floating island on the other side of the forest was simply too beautiful. Looking from afar, there were no mountains or water, but there was an intoxicating sea of stars. The bright silver starlight fell vertically, drawing out a gorgeous trajectory. There was a stone door in front of the island, and the word floating light was written on top of the stone door. Muyen stares blankly at the strange scene in front of her. She gasps in admiration, but also feels that it is inexplicably familiar. She seemed to have seen this kind of beautiful silver light, the ripples of broken stars. That's right, it's the core of the Tianguang ruins, the dreamy cloud swampland. Although the overall layout of this place was different from that of the dreamy cloud lake. But the starry river, the floating broken light, and the colorful scene were almost exactly the same as the dreamy cloud swampland. Could this be the core area of the floating island, Tianguang ruins? Muyan's heartbeat quickened. She suddenly took a step and her whole body soared into the air, landing on the floating island. However, just as she was about to enter, he discovered that the surroundings of the island seemed to be unobstructed, but in fact, there was a transparent barrier. The only door was tightly shut. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't get in. Mayan knits her brows and thinks hard. Suddenly, she has a flash of inspiration and her divine sense slightly moves. A jade-colored key slowly appeared in her palm. Floating light jade key. This was the floating light jade key that had saved her at the critical moment and sent her to the floating island. Almost at the instant the floating light jade key appeared, the entire island, the dense forest below, and the distant slaughtering world all trembled slightly. The jade key in his palm, which was originally dim and covered in cracks, actually began to flicker with a faint light. Pa! He heard a crisp sound, and the gray jade pendant that had been broken into 4 pieces fell to the ground. Mu Yin is so scared that her heart almost jumps out of her throat. That was her jade key to enter the Tianguang ruins. How was it going to get out without the jade key? However, in the next moment, she suddenly realized something. Her divine sense sank into the flickering light jade key. Sure enough, all the treasure she had collected in the Tianguang ruins these days had been transferred into the flickering light jade key. In other words, her key to enter the Tianguang ruins wasn't broken. Instead, it was replaced by the flickering light jade key, which was more advanced, more mysterious, and more powerful, and was no longer restricted by any arrays or people. Having figured this out, Mu Yin is simply wild with joy. In this way, she wouldn't need to use the Kangwu city's array to enter and exit the Tianguang ruins. In the future, no matter where she was, she could come in and go out whenever she wanted. Composing herself, Mayan first throws all the things that will happen after she goes out to the back of her mind. He picked up the floating light jade key and inserted it into the keyhole. She wanted to know what was hidden on Floating Light Island and why Tianguang ruins had changed. Mu Yin believed that behind this door, there must be a secret that she wanted to know. However, the moment before the key was inserted into the keyhole, a powerful force rushed toward him without any warning. Mu Yin was caught off guard and had no time to dodge. She was directly overturned and fell into the long river with a splash. She climbed out of the water in a sorry state, and before she could clearly see what had happened. Chapter 32-38. Tightening her fingers, she felt suffocated from the depths of her soul. She clearly didn't use any supernatural arts, but it made her tremble and submit from the depths of her soul. It was as if the owner of this hand was the god of this world. As long as it was in this world, there was absolutely no way to resist. And in the entire Tianguang ruins, the only one who could do this was Little Light. Mu Yin called out the name of the youth in front of her in a hoarse voice. Hearing this, Little Light revealed a struggling and pained expression. The hand clutching her throat seemed to want to loosen. But in the next instant, it suddenly tightened again. There's an order, ordering me to trespass on Floating Light Island. Kill, without mercy. Mu Yan's face flushed red, but her eyes were only fixed on his eyes and lips. Not willing to miss a single word, he said, "Who ordered you? Is it the owner of Tianguang ruins?" "Master?" Little Light murmured, his eyes dazed. It's not master. But it's an order, kill." With that, the hand clutching Mu Yan's throat tightened again. The suffocating pain welled up from the depths of her soul again. Mu Yin bit the tip of her tongue, forcing herself not to faint. She said in a hoarse voice, "Since it's not master's order, how can you act on your own?" If she remembered correctly, the owner of Tianguang ruins should be her cheap fiancé, although she didn't know who he was. But her father Jun Shiyuan wouldn't pick a scum who wanted to kill her, right? So, the one controlling Little Light was definitely not the original owner of Tianguang ruins. Then who could it be? Seeing Little Light's bewildered expression again, the hand around her throat loosened a little. Mu Yin immediately struck while the iron was hot. "And do you really not remember who I am? Previously, in the Primal Chaos space, you called me the first host. Little Tian said that you and Little Sue wanted to see me very much. Do you really want to kill me?" The hand around her throat slowly loosened. The youth's expressionless face revealed a wronged expression. "I, like the first host, don't want to hurt you, but I can't control it. I can't control anything." There were no tears in the youth's eyes, but Mu Yin seemed to see him crying sadly. Little Tian, who clearly had the same face, was so pure and happy, but Little Light was tortured to this state. Who did it? An ice-cold, killing intent rises in Mayan's heart, but the expression on her face is careful and gentle. She gently pressed down on the back of Xiao Guang's neck, pulling him into her embrace. Don't be afraid. No matter who harmed you, I will definitely seek justice for you. Little Light's body was completely stiff. At this moment, the embrace was so warm and peaceful, as if it was familiar to the bones. A gentle expression blossomed on his face. His lips parted as he called out softly, "First host." However, in the next moment, a black lotus mark suddenly lit up between his eyebrows. Ah! Xiao Guang lets out a painful wail and abruptly pushes Mu Yin away. Don't come here! Streaks of crisscrossing red and black lines appeared on the youth's face, causing his originally delicate and pretty face to become incomparably hideous. I can't kill. First generation. Host, I can't kill. I beg you. I beg you. Little Light's eyes were filled with bone-deep fear and pain. He seemed to be wailing and begging someone, but it was all useless. His eyes, which were originally filled with emotions, slowly lost their luster. All his humanity had been replaced by a cold and numb killing intent. Trespassers on Floating Light Island must be killed. Chapter 32-39. Mu Yan's eyes suddenly widened, and she saw the youth in the distance disappear. When he reappeared, he was already in front of her, and he was holding a silver scepter in his hand, stabbing it fiercely towards her chest. Shushin Continent, Xing Yuan Dock. The starry sky was vast, and the night was as cool as water. Bright moonlight shone through the carved window lattice, sprinkling on the sleeping youth on the bed. Suddenly, he opened his eyes and jumped up from the bed. Qi Wen, who had been sleeping next to him, was suddenly awakened. Rubbing her eyes, she said, "Master, why did you suddenly wake up? Didn't Shizun say that you have to rest for a few months to remove the cold poison from your body?" Luo Yunxiao stared blankly out of the window. The vague and frightening scene in his dream flashed through his mind. Unconsciously, a drop of sweat slid down his forehead. Luo Yunxiao turned his wrist, and a golden key-like object appeared in his palm. Unknowingly, a red thread was wrapped around the center of the key, tightening the golden key, as if it was going to be cut into two pieces. "Master, why did you take out the heart key of Tingguang Ruins? Did something happen in Tingguang Ruins?" Luo Yunxiao closed his eyes. Floating Island, Tingguang Ruins. As early as 20 years ago, this Tingguang Ruins had been out of the control of the heart key, and he had no time to pay attention to this Tingguang Ruins for various reasons. But why did he just see Mu Yin in the Floating Island, Tingguang Ruins in his dream? How could Mu Yin be in the Floating Island? Was it just an illusion? But what if it was true? What if she really encountered danger in the Floating Island, Tingguang Ruins? The doubt in Luo Yunxiao's eyes gradually turned into determination. He grabbed the clothes next to him and put them on, then stood up by supporting himself on the edge of the table. "Master! Master! What are you doing?" Qi Wen shouted anxiously. "Shizun said that you can't get up. You quickly lie back down." While shouting, the door was pushed open. A very handsome young man came in. Although he looked over 40 years old and had a beard, it still couldn't hide his gentle and elegant demeanor. Seeing Luo Yunxiao put on his clothes and get up from the bed, Xing Yuan couldn't help frowning, showing a disapproving expression. "Your injuries haven't healed yet. Why are you up? Hurry up and lie down." He held a bowl of medicine in his hand and placed it on the bedside. "Drink the medicine and rest well. In a few months, your injuries..." "Master," Luo Yunxiao interrupted him. "I'm leaving for a while." Xing Yuan shouted sternly. "Nonsense. You have been locked up in the water prison for so long. Your injuries are serious, and the cold poison has entered your body. If you do not remove it, you may not be able to use the power of the netherworld in the future." To the people of the nether domain, being unable to use nether power was equivalent to being a cripple. Xing Yuan looked at Qi Wen and said, "Let your master lie on the bed." Qi Wen nodded repeatedly. Her body suddenly enlarged, and she grabbed Luo Yunxiao's clothes with her mouth, wanting to drag her to the bed. However, a fair, slender, and slightly cold hand gently pressed on his head. He clearly didn't use any strength, but it was instantly immobilized. Luo Yunxiao raised her eyes and looked straight into Xing Yuan's eyes. She said word by word, "Master, I have a reason why I must leave." "What reason?" This disciple wants to protect someone," he said slowly and gently in a slightly hoarse voice. "This is the first time this disciple wants to protect someone even at the risk of his life. I hope Master can fulfill my wish." Xing Yuan was stunned, as if he had never thought that it would be this reason. Chapter 3240. He stared blankly at the young man in front of him. Even though there was no lack of handsome men and beautiful women in the Xiuxin continent, even Xing Yuan himself was once known as a handsome man. But in terms of appearance, perhaps no man or woman in this world could compare to the youth in front of him. The rosy clouds were like the moon, and the white dew was like frost. The accumulated stones were like jade, and the pine trees were like emeralds. Her beauty was unparalleled in this world. But the soul wrapped in such a perfect skin was destined to. Xing Yuan felt a pain in his heart, and the reprimand that was about to come out of his mouth seemed to be stuck in his throat. After a long while, he asked, "The person you want to protect is a woman?" Her long eyelashes slowly drooped, casting a shallow silhouette on her cold, white skin. The young man didn't answer, but the answer was clear. Xing Yuan let out a long sigh. "Yun Xiao, you will regret this in the future." Luo Yunxiao's lips curled up, revealing a weak but stubborn smile. "Rather than regret now, I would rather regret in the future." Xing Yuan closed his eyes. After a long while, he let out a long sigh as if he had compromised. With a wave of his hand, he suddenly threw a porcelain bottle in front of him. "The pill inside can temporarily restore some of your strength, but it will also speed up the invasion of the cold poison in your body. If you're really prepared." Without waiting for him to finish, Luo Yunxiao picked up the porcelain bottle, poured out a pill, and swallowed it. Xing Yuan's words were stuck in his throat. For a moment, he didn't know what to say. He smiled bitterly and shook his head. "What a fool!" Luo Yunxiao slowly knelt down. "Thank you, Master." Looking at the empty room, Xing Yuan got up and walked out of the room. Looking at the vast starry sky, he muttered in a low voice, "He is also the most pitiful person in the world. Sky Floating Island, Tianguang Ruins." Muyan sits in the water and gasps for air. She touched her chest, which was still aching faintly, and revealed an expression of lingering fear. It was a close call just now. The scepter in Light's hand almost pierced through his body. Muyan has a premonition that the scepter seems to have no edge at all. But if it really pierced his heart, his soul would probably scatter. At that time, Muyan wanted to hide, but her body didn't seem to be under her control. When she felt the pain in her chest, even with her composure, she couldn't help but feel a sense of despair and fear. However, in the next moment, Light suddenly withdrew its hand and vanished on the spot. Muyan doesn't even have time to see Xiao Guang's expression. Did he come to his senses in the nick of time? So he let her go? Mayan uses her spiritual power to evaporate the water stains on her body and turns her gaze towards the floating island. A cold, killing intent surfaced in his eyes. No matter who controlled Light and destroyed the originally peaceful floating island, they would not be able to escape. She swore that she would make this person pay a painful price. Muyan passes through the jungle again, arriving at the center of the world of bloodshed. Along the way, she killed quite a number of dire beasts as she pondered. She did not know if the few points she obtained from killing the desolate beasts would be enough for her to climb up the slaughter list. In this Tianguang Ruins, where should he go to obtain information? Female hero. Heroine, you're finally out. An excited voice enters her ears, interrupting Mu Yan's thoughts. The three brothers of the Su family were running over with flattering and respectful smiles on their faces. Mu Yan raises her eyebrows. "Did you find the person in the portrait?" "Found. No, not found." No, replying to heroine. "Although we didn't find the person, we have news." Mu Yan's spirit shook. "Oh? What news?" Chapter 3241. Suda, We've asked everyone we know in the major districts these few days and finally found some information in the North District. This person is called Ma Huang'an, and he's quite powerful. He made it onto the slaughter roll a month after entering the Sky Light Ruins. However, he seemed to have offended someone and was severely injured before 3 months had passed. Although I managed to escape by a fluke, my ranking on the slaughter list quickly dropped. Su-air, after the 3-month cycle, he never made it onto the slaughter roll again, so he's been trapped in the Sky Light Ruins these few years. But a month ago, he suddenly disappeared near the Thunder Gang in the North District. Susan, although we haven't found out where he is now, it shouldn't be a problem to follow the clues as long as we have news. Don't worry, heroine. We will definitely find him for you. Mu Yin smiled and nodded. You done very well. The 3 Su brothers immediately beamed. They looked into Mu Yan's eyes, their eyes sparkling with dazzling starlight. Mu Yin has goosebumps all over her body. Suda rubbed his hands. Heroine, just tell us if you have any other orders. We will definitely complete them for you, no matter what. Mu Yin glanced at the dense forest behind her before turning back. Do you know about the floating light island in the Sky Light Ruins? The 3 Su brothers were startled when they heard the words floating light island. Their eyes were filled with fear. Heroine, why you must not go to floating light island? The evil demon that controls the entire Sky Light Ruins is there. Anyone who goes near will be killed, their soul destroyed, and they will never be able to reincarnate. The evil demon they were talking about was probably Little Light. Mu Yin frowned. No one can enter Floating Light Island? That isn't it. Suda hesitated. It said that those who entered the Sky Light Ruins when it first changed all heard of an unspoken rule. What rule? No matter who it is, if one can top the slaughter roll every cycle from the moment one enters the Sky Light Ruins and reach the top 12 times in a row, they will be qualified to enter Floating Light Island. Reach the top 12 times in a row? Why would one be qualified to enter Floating Light Island after reaching the top 12 times in a row? Who was the one who set this rule? Mu Yin asked. Has anyone entered Floating Light Island? How is this possible? Before Suda could answer, Su-air and Su-san were already shouting. Heroine, you should know that even the boss of the Heavenly Light Ruins Pavilion of Intoxication, Fu Izue, has only obtained first place 6 times in a row. How can it be so easy to do it 12 times in a row? Moreover, the requirement to enter Floating Light Island is not just to enter 12 times in a row. It starts from the first time you entered the Sky Light Ruins. In other words, you have to be someone who has never dropped from the top of the Carnage Roll. How is that possible? Mu Yin slightly frowns. Indeed, climbing to the top of the slaughter list 12 times in a row was easy to say, but extremely difficult to do. Because every 3 months, the points on the Carnage list would be recalculated. In other words, the points displayed on the Carnage leaderboard represented the number of people you killed in these 3 months. However, the number of points each cultivator had would not be emptied. Instead, it would only increase as they worked harder. As a result, as long as one killed a person with high points, they would be able to jump to the top of the rankings. In this way, there would be a lot of uncertainty as to who would be at the top, especially for Mu Yin, who had always believed that she would not offend those who did not offend her. Chapter 3242. If others didn't actively provoke her, she wouldn't actively kill them. There were only 3 days left until the first update of the slaughter list. Was it possible to reach the top in a short time just by killing wild beasts? Suda, Su-air, and Susan talked for a while, but Mu Yin remained silent. They felt that she had given up on the idea. She couldn't help but say excitedly, the requirements to enter Floating Light Island are too perverse. It's not something a human can achieve. But heroine, you're already amazing enough. This is the first time we've seen someone who's just entered Tianguang Ruins a few days ago climb up the slaughter list, and not even at the bottom. You're already in the 300s. Heavens! Entering the 300s in 12 days, and just by killing wild beasts. How did you? While the 3 of them were talking, the girl in front of them suddenly curled her finger and tapped the rock next to her. She asked casually, are there any scumbags in the Tianguang Ruins who are unpardonable and deserve to be punished and have a high score? Suda and the other 2 started and looked at each other, not knowing why she was asking this. Mu Yin said with some regret, "There aren't any." No one had come to provoke her now. It was too embarrassing for her to take the initiative to kill them. But if the other party was a beast like Fusang City, then it would be a different story. There wouldn't be any psychological burden to kill them. Su San said carefully, "If we're talking about scum with high points, then it's definitely Lei Wudi of the Thunder Gang. He was the one who invented the last 100 positions on the slaughter list, trade position, and human sacrifice." Human sacrifice? Heroin. Why do you think the 4 major powers sold trade position to allow people with extremely low points to suddenly rise to such a high position? Mu Yan's pupils contracted slightly. Su San revealed a bitter smile. The Thunder Gang's prison keeps a few low-level cultivators with relatively high points, all for the sake of people like Boss Lu to slaughter, so that they can climb into the top 1,000 of the Carnage ranking in a short time. And Lei Wudi is extremely lecherous. Almost all the women in Tianguang ruins have been violated by him. Anyone who tries to resist will end up 100 times more miserable than death. It was not until Lien Ryue rose to power and established the Moon of West River that she took those female cultivators under her command. Only then did the number of female cultivators who were harmed decrease. But even Fu Izue and Lien Ryu couldn't resist Lei Wudi because Lei Wudi controlled too many desperados. Suda and the other two felt the same way, but they didn't dare to say anything. Mu Yin, on the other hand, slowly hooks up the corner of her lips. Not bad. It's really like someone delivering a pillow when you're dozing off. Lei Wudi, right? I'll choose him as my first human sacrifice. Suda, Su'er, and Su-san. What are you saying? Choosing Lei Wudi as a human sacrifice? Are you out of your mind? Mu Yin doesn't pay attention to the 3 people in the wind. She's just about to ask where the Leitang gang is. Suddenly, a familiar and hurried voice came from afar. Miss, seeing the person, Mayan's face changes. Ma Quishan, why did you come in? Didn't I tell you to stand guard outside? Ma Quishan's eyes are red, the anxiety on his face almost overflowing. Miss, it's bad. It's little master, masterly they. Mu Yan's eyes widen. She grabs Ma Quishan's lapel and says sternly, "What did you say? Say it again. What happened to Xiaobao?" Chapter 32-43. Sky Floating Island, Kangwu City. Rewind time to a day ago. As the faint light from the gray jade ring disappeared, the 2 of them fell into a deep sleep. The entire room quieted down. Ma Quishan patted his head, reminding himself to guard her until the miss woke up. Grr chirp, suddenly a crisp sound could be heard. Ma Quishan turned his head to look and saw that Mu Yan's clothes were making rustling sounds. Then, a fluffy yellow head popped out from Mu Yan's sleeves. It was the Miss Little Chick. Why did this little ancestor come out now? Ma Quishan quickly forced a smile. Is Huang Wang hungry? I have some spirit fruits here. He took out a withered spirit fruit and handed it over. Who knew that the little chick would immediately give him a look of disdain? Chirp, chirp. Huang Wang didn't want to eat a withered fruit. Huang Wang wanted to eat delicious roasted meat. Brother Blindfold, stop sleeping and cook for Huang Wang. As it called out, it used its little head to nudge the sleeping Li Weiran. It even stepped on Li Weiran's chest with its little feet and started to move towards his head. Ma Quishan was startled and quickly rushed over to grab the little chick. Who knew that in a blur, another fluffy white ball would rush towards the little chick. Bang! It directly landed on Li Weiran's head. Ma Quishan's mouth twitched, and he almost wanted to cover his eyes, because he clearly saw a fat rabbit sitting on Li Weiran's body. Its butt was about to press down on Li Weiran's head. Puff! A suspicious yellow gas floated out from under the fat rabbit's butt. The room was filled with an indescribable stench. Pa pa pa! The little chick spat and ran away like the wind. Too smelly, too smelly. How could a rabbit's fart stink like this? The fat rabbit raised its head high, its mung bean eyes radiating arrogance. Is the female demon someone you can covet? Is the little master someone you can bully? Shameless thing. I'll let you have a taste of this rabbit's power. Ma Quishan was completely dumbfounded. No, he wanted to cry. Was Li Weiran scary? Anyone who came out of the rocky mound would know how terrifying this seemingly weak and harmless man was. Moreover, the young miss had reminded them time and time again not to provoke this pervert. But now, this pervert's chest had been stepped on by a chick, and a rabbit's smelly fart covered his entire face. Ma Quishan couldn't imagine what Li Weiran would do if he woke up and found out what had happened. His hands trembled as he tried to take the rabbit off Li Weiran's head. Destroy the evidence. That's right. Before young Master Li wakes up, we have to destroy the corpse immediately. Ma Quishan strode over. However, a chill suddenly crept up his spine. His footsteps came to a halt, and his eyes widened as he trembled as he looked forward. It was unknown when a figure in snow-white clothes had appeared behind the fat rabbit. A glaring bright red covered his eyes, making it impossible to see his true expression. Only the corner of his mouth curled up slightly, revealing a cold and treacherous feeling that made one's hair stand on end. Li Weiran. Is he standing there? What about the one underground? Ma Quishan looked down and saw that there was no one under the fat rabbit's butt. Little careful. Chapter 32:44. Just as Ma Quishan screamed, the fat rabbit was grabbed by the throat and lifted into the air. What a headache! Li Weiran tilted his head slightly, his brows furrowed, his expression somewhat distressed. I wasn't in a good mood. Why did you have to provoke me at this time? Li Weiran didn't expect this either. He had just promised Mu Yin that he would go to Tianguang ruins to protect him. But he found out that the avatar he used to forcefully tear apart space and send him to the floating island had an incomplete soul. When he was bragging to Mu Yin, he didn't think about it at all. Tianguang ruins didn't accept remnant souls. Li Weiran wanted to destroy the entire Kangwu city on the spot. Thinking that Mu Yin still had to leave Tianguang ruins, he forced himself to endure it, forcing himself to sleep. Who knew that at this time, there would be a rabbit that dared to provoke him? Ink-like black fog slowly flowed out of his slender fingers, wrapping around the fat rabbit's neck. The fat rabbit's mung bean eyes suddenly widened, the protruding eyes filled with crimson red light. Its tiny three-petaled mouth had opened wide at some point, revealing sharp teeth and a bottomless black hole. On its snow-white fur, strange blood-red runes unknowingly appeared. Even Li Weiran revealed a surprised expression. It's actually an ancient divine beast Danglong? This is really rare. The fat rabbit glared fiercely at Li Weiran, its throat emitting pained and angry howls. The black hole in its mouth emitted a huge suction force, causing Li Weiran's long hair and clothes to flutter in the wind. Li Weiran chuckled softly. His laughter was cold and even carried a hint of cruel joy. Didn't your inherited memories teach you that when you are weak, even an ancient divine beast can only tuck its tail between its legs and be a dog? Since you have the guts to provoke me, then be prepared to suffer my wrath. As soon as he finished speaking, thick black gas suddenly spread from his fingertips. The black threads that were originally wrapping around the fat rabbit instantly turned into a huge wave, swallowing it in one gulp. Oh, whoa! In the black fog, the fat rabbit wailed in pain, struggling nonstop. Little Chick looked at this scene in a daze, unable to react to what was happening. Its big eyes were filled with confusion. What was Brother Blindfold doing? Why did he grab Bun Bun's neck? Ma Quishan, on the other hand, was frantic. Young Master Li, please have mercy. That's young Master's spirit pet. If you kill him, young Master and young lady will be angry. Ma Quishan felt a sharp pain in his chest. He looked down and saw Li Weiran sticking out an index finger and lightly poking it into his chest. Her fingertips were only half an inch away from his heart. Li Weiran's faint voice traveled into their ears. Why are you guys always so disobedient and always provoke me when I'm in a bad mood? Ma Quishan was scared out of his wits. The blood in his body seemed to have frozen, and he was completely unable to move. Only when Li Weiran retracted his hand with a sneer did he fall to the ground. His entire body was drenched in cold sweat. At this moment, the fat rabbit's struggle was getting weaker and weaker. The cries of pain were drowned in the black fog. They became softer and softer until they gradually disappeared. It's over. Ma Quishan closed his eyes in despair. In the blink of an eye, a sword light whizzed through the quiet space. The wind that was whipped up caused the dust on the roof to fall down. Chapter 32:45. Let go of the fat rabbit. A crisp, childish voice with a hint of cold anger followed. Ma Quishan suddenly opened his eyes and looked at the little boy standing in front of Li Weiran with a long sword in his hand. He felt his vision darken, and he almost fainted. The little master also came out, but the problem was that the little master was not Li Weiran's opponent. It would be fine if it was just a spiritual pet that died, but if the little master was injured, how could he explain this to the miss? Ma Quishan opened his mouth to speak, but found that he couldn't make a sound. The whole room was filled with a raging wave of pressure. He didn't even have the qualifications to intervene in the confrontation between the two. Li Weiran raised his hand and touched his long hair. A lock of short hair fell from his fingertips. His lips curled up slightly as he looked at the handsome little face that looked similar to Mu Yin. What if I don't let go? Do you want to take it from my hands? Xiao Bao looked at him coldly and said word by word, If you don't let go, I will kill you. The crisp and childish voice didn't have the childish innocence of a child at all. There was only the arrogance and resoluteness of a monarch. At the same time, the Bixia sword in his hand let out an ear-piercing hum. The sword light suddenly turned into lightning and whizzed towards Li Weiran. Li Weiran sighed softly. Do you really think I don't dare to kill you? Bang! There was a loud noise, and the whole room shook violently. Countless gravel fell from the top of his head. Ma Quishan widened his eyes in horror and stared at everything in front of him. When the dust settled, two figures, one big and one small, appeared. He saw Xiao Bao's small body firmly pressed against the wall. His pale little face was dripping with scarlet blood from the corner of his mouth. Little master! Ma Quishan screamed and was about to rush over. But he suddenly thought of something. He gritted his teeth and took out the jade pendant, forcing himself to close his eyes and ignore everything around him. No one could stop Li Weiran now. Only the miss, Li Weiran, would only listen to the Mississippi. He had to enter Tingguang ruins and let the miss quickly come out to save the little master. Gg. Brother. Seeing that Xiao Bao was injured, little Chick panicked as well. Its movements were even faster than Ma Quishan's. His tiny wings kept flapping away from his unstained feet. Go. Scoundrel. Brother Blindfold is a bad guy. Don't hurt big brother. The Bixia sword buzzed as if it was trying to get up from the ground. However, Li Weiran stepped on him, rendering him immobile. Motherfucker, let me go if you have the guts, you bastard. What kind of man are you to bully a child? In Xiao Bao's psyche ocean, Bai Xie's cursing and the fat rabbit's weak consciousness could be heard. Little Ing was angry, goo gg noises could be heard all over the place. The fat rabbit really regretted it now. Just like what Li Weiran said, when it was still weak, it shouldn't have provoked strong enemies. It wouldn't be a big deal if it died by itself, but if it implicated the little master, it would regret it for the rest of its life. The pair of eyes under the red silk slowly lowered and fell on Xiao Bao's pale little face. Li Weiran closed his eyes and took a deep breath, suppressing the surging killing intent in his heart. Then he used his usual gentle voice to say, What about me? Right now, I don't want to become enemies with Mayan and be irreconcilable enemies. But if I let you go like this, I won't be happy. So, little demon, why don't you open your mouth and say a few good words? Then I'll let you go. Chapter 32:46. Xiao Bao stares blankly. When he understands what Li Weiran is saying, his pretty little brows deeply wrinkle. Give in to this annoying guy. He's not willing. However, he has to admit that he can't beat this person. Bastard, if only Daddy was here. Xiao Bao grits his teeth, but he thinks of the fat rabbit's safety. In the end, he still compromises. Let the fat rabbit go, I'll apologize. Li Weiran is startled. The little boy in front of him purses his lips stubbornly, his long eyelashes lightly trembling. His big ice-blue eyes are full of unwillingness. But for the sake of a spiritual pet, he actually endured it. Is this Junmayan's son? Junmayan and Deming Ju's son? He doesn't know why, but when he thinks of this, his chest suddenly surges with a piercing pain and the irritation of wanting to destroy everything. Li Weiran licks his lips. He doesn't know when, but his pale lips are stained with a bloodthirsty, captivating red. Sorry, I changed my mind? That breath in my chest has to be vented. Either I kill this underage rabbit now, or I kill you. Who lives and who dies? It's up to you, little guy. Xiao Bao doesn't even think about it, directly saying, I want the rabbit to live. Ayo, ayo, ayo. The fat rabbit lets out an angry and pained cry. Its figure suddenly changes, and it rushes towards Li Weiran. However, Li Weiran doesn't even look at it. He raises his hand, and a black thread twines around it. This thread is the three breaths curse. If it gets entangled in the lungs and seeps into the soul, you will be haunted by the curse for eternity, living a life worse than death. Xiao Bao's face suddenly changes, and he sternly shouts, Rabbit, stop. I order you, as your master. Don't move. After saying that, he raises his chin. His big ice-blue eyes look at Li Weiran with determination. If you want to kill, kill me. He grits his teeth. You're not allowed to hurt the fat rabbit. Li Weiran says with a smile that isn't a smile. Are you sure that I won't kill you because of Mayans? Xiao Bao sneers. Don't think that I don't know what you're thinking. You like my mother and want to take her for yourself. But you're just daydreaming. My father is 100 times better than you, 100 times more powerful than you. My mother will only love my father in this life. No matter how hard you try, you will never get what you want. If you kill me today, my mother will hate you to the bone. My father will spare no expense to hunt you down. Even if you go to heaven or hell, there will be a day when you will accompany me in death. I've been waiting for this day. Li Weiran's ears buzzed, and he unconsciously let go of Xiao Bao's neck. He could barely hear what Xiao Bao said after that. In his mind, there was only that sentence. You like my mother and want to make her yours. Does he like mine? Li Weiran thought to himself. Like Deming Ju's sweetheart? Yes. If he didn't like her, why would he help her block the heavenly tribulation? If he didn't like her, why didn't he want her to die? If he didn't like her, why would his mind be filled with that woman's figure when he returned to the Linglong Island, causing him to feel restless and unable to sleep at night? It was to the extent that he didn't hesitate to damage his divine soul, to tear open space again and arrive at this floating island. Xiao Bao touches his burning, aching neck and looks at the man in front of him in confusion. He just said that he was going to kill him, so why did he suddenly let go? And there's no killing intent at all. Could it be that when he said that his father would go to heaven and hell to hunt him down, it really scared him? Chapter 32:47. Xiao Bao grasped the Bixia sword in the air again, raising his head and cautiously looking at Li Weiran. He slowly moves towards the fat rabbit's direction. He is always on guard, afraid that Li Weiran will suddenly launch an attack. However, a hand suddenly presses on his head, gently rubbing it. Xiao Bao stares dumbfoundedly at the gentle-looking man. His slightly perplexed yet joyful voice enters his ears. What you said, I have to think about it. I've never thought about it before. It's really very interesting. After saying that, he no longer pays attention to Xiao Bao and unexpectedly finds a corner to sit down. He props his chin and begins to ponder. Xiao Bao. What did he say? Why does he have to think about it? Nyangqin is right. This person really is a psychopath. Xiao Bao stares at Li Weiran for a while, seeing that he really doesn't act up. He then carries the fat rabbit back to Mu Yin and sits down. In fact, creatures that enter the Tian Mo Qin space, including Xiao Bao, can't come in and out without Mu Yan's permission. Only the little chick is an exception. But just now, Xiao Bao saw the fat rabbit in danger in the space. In a moment of desperation, he pulled Qi Huang's hand, revealing a pleading expression. Then, he really rushed out. But after coming out, it seems that they can't go back. Xiao Bao isn't in a hurry. He's even happier to be able to watch over his Nyangqin outside. Bunny, does it hurt? he asks softly as he carefully treats the fat rabbit's injuries. Xiao Bao's eyes are full of worry and distress. The little chick puffs its cheeks and blows on the side. Spittle flies out from its sharp beak from time to time. Brother Rabbit, don't be afraid. Huang Huang will blow on you, and it won't hurt anymore. Blow, blow, pain fly. It's not clear whether it's the medicine that Xiao Bao fed or the little chick's blowing had an effect. The fat rabbit's eyes slowly regain some spirit. It sticks out its tongue and licks Xiao Bao's mouth, making whining sounds. Its heart is full of guilt and unwillingness. It's too useless. Because of its willfulness, it almost put its little master in a desperate situation. In the end, it's still too weak. It has to become stronger. It has to become even stronger. How could it allow anyone in this world to hurt its most beloved little master? The fat rabbit slowly closed its eyes and fell into a deep sleep. Xiao Bao rubbed its head and put it into the dimension of the exorcism sword. He couldn't help but look at Li Weiran. Then, little Bao's face darkened. This pervert keeps looking at his mother. Xiao Bao shifted his position hatefully, blocking Li Weiran's line of sight. Mother is Xiao Bao's. It's useless even if you covet her. After thinking for a while, he reluctantly changed the word in his mind. Mother belongs to Xiao Bao and Daddy. The others had no chance at all. Little Chick looked at his brother and then at Li Weiran. Her big eyes were sparkling. Was this a sitting game? Whoever blinked first would lose. Huang Huang also wanted to play, so Little Chick also excitedly sat beside Little Bao, its big round eyes staring unblinkingly at Li Weiran. The ahog on his head stood up. Creak! Amidst the silent confrontation, the sound of the iron door being pushed open startled Xiao Bao and the Little Chick. Then, a head with disheveled hair slowly poked out from behind the door. The greasy and messy long hair almost covered his entire face. Only a pair of green eyes could be seen, faintly discernible behind the long hair. He wore a white shirt stained with blood, and his feet were bare. Chapter 32:48. As he slowly entered, his feet were completely floating off the ground. The hand that was originally resting on the door frame slowly reached out. The black fingernails were sharp and at least an inch long, and the gaps between the nails were stained with mud and blood. Little Ing was shivered and jumped into Xiao Bao's arms, its little body trembling. Even Xiao Bao stood up abruptly, gripping the sword in his hand tightly as he looked at the newcomer vigilantly, who knew that in the next moment it would be the sword in his hand that started buzzing. Ah, is this The Ring or The Grudge? I've never watched horror movies before. Listening to the evil warding sword shriek in his ears, Xiao Bao suddenly hugged the evil warding sword and patted it lightly. Don't be afraid, that's not a ghost. The evil warding sword stopped vibrating. After a long time, the young man said with a smile, I'm actually being protected and comforted by a child. Xiao Bao hugged the trembling little Ing Huo in his arms, then looked at the newcomer. Who are you? Why did you come into my mother's room? In Kangwu City, in theory, each person could only occupy one room. It was also not allowed to fight outside Tianguang ruins. However, this rule was only properly enforced when Kangwu City was first built. As Tianguang ruins became more and more dangerous, fewer and fewer people came to Kangwu City. There was no one to manage the entire city, so the rules were naturally useless. Thus, before Mu Yin entered Tianguang ruins, she ordered Ma Quishan to guard it. Then, she stuck a defensive talisman on the door. However, this talisman that could defend against a powerful attack from a peak mysterious life realm cultivator didn't have any effect and was pushed away. Xiao Bao circulated the immortal energy in his body, staring at the newcomer, only to see that pair of lush green eyes slowly turn, sweeping over the sleeping Mu Yin and Ma Quishan. Finally, it fell on Xiao Bao. In the next moment, the pair of eyes suddenly lit up. Bauer? Is that you, Bauer? Mother finally found you. The sharp and eerie voice made one's scalp tingle. In the next moment, the white-clothed female ghost's figure flashed, and she was already in front of Xiao Bao. Her ghostly claw-like hands suddenly reached out, wanting to embrace Xiao Bao. A pungent stench assaulted his nostrils, making him want to vomit. Startled, Xiaobao hastily crouched down to avoid it. At the same time, the sword light whistled and rushed toward the female ghost. Rip! The female ghost's clothes began to tear. A stream of blood slowly flowed down her left arm. His oily green eyes looked at Xiaobao, and then at the wound on his arm. The female ghost's body started to tremble violently. The hair covering his face fluttered even though there was no wind, revealing the hideous and twisted face underneath. Bauer, why don't you listen to me? Why did you leave Mother's side? Right, it's that vixen. The female ghost face suddenly turns to the unconscious Mu Yin. It must be this vixen who bewitched you, making you recognize a thief as your mother. As long as you kill this vixen, Bao you will know that only Mother can protect you. Just as the sharp voice fell, the female ghost had already pounced on Mu Yan's body. Long fingernails stretch out, directly stabbing Mayan's heart. Mother! Little Treasure's expression changed drastically. Without any hesitation, he and the evil warding sword transformed into a streak of sword light and flew toward the female ghost. Don't hurt my mother! Boom! The two silhouettes collided, the air surged, and the ceiling directly collapsed. Chapter 3249. Xiaobao was blasted into the wall by the powerful shockwave, and a trace of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. The female ghost opposite him was also blasted away by his sword chi. But at the moment when the sword chi was about to hit her, her body emitted a ray of light. Then, the sword aura of the Bixia sword that could shake heaven and earth disappeared without a trace. The female ghost stuck to the wall like a loach and glared at Xiaobao. Her shrill voice almost pierced through one's eardrums. Bauer, why don't you listen to me? Why do we have to listen to that bitch's instigation? Xiaobao looked at the hysterical woman in front of him with a grave expression. This female ghost in white had at least reached the peak of the profound life realm. If he was only at the peak of the profound life stage, Xiaobao would not be completely helpless. But the problem was that this female ghost had some kind of magical treasure on her. It could actually disintegrate the sword chi attack in an instant. But Xiaobao was even more afraid that she would hurt his unconscious mother. Vixen, who asked you to bewitch my child? I'll tear you to pieces right now. Kikik. The female ghost screamed and suddenly pounced towards Mu Yin. Xiaobao's expression changed drastically. Ignoring the burning pain in his chest, he swung his Bixia sword again. 9 dragon shadows instantly appeared on the long sword that was flickering with a cold light. With a howl, it wrapped around the female ghost. Sky Dragon Hidden Shadow. This is the sword move that Xiaobao learned in Di Ming Ju's small world. The dragon roared in the clouds, and the shadow of the sword filled the sky. This time, the female ghost's chest also lit up, but it did not seem to offset all the damage. He let out a painful howl. There was a huge bloody hole in her chest. Her white clothes, which were already stained with blood, became even more glaring. The female ghost clutched the wound on her chest. Her face was completely twisted, and her eyes were filled with murderous intent. Valspawn, how dare you hurt me? I'm your mother. How dare you hurt me for this bitch? Rather than letting you be bewitched by this vixen and die without a complete corpse, I'd rather kill you myself. She raised her hand, and a small dagger appeared in her palm. The dagger glowed with a purple light. With just a glance, Xiaobao could feel that the dagger was extremely terrifying. He grits his teeth and glances at Mayan. He suddenly reaches out and tosses the little chick in his arms. Huang, you stay by Nyang Qin's side. Little Ingho's luck value is very high. This is something that everyone in the Tianmo Qin space and the spirit pets all know. Go. Big bro. Be careful. Xiaobao gripped the Bai Xie sword tightly and said, Bai Xie, I'm sorry. I have to let you take the risk with me. I have to leave this place. I can't let her hurt my mother. The sword trembled slightly and let out a buzzing sound. As long as it's not a female ghost, there's nothing to be afraid of. The man and the sword spirit were telepathically connected. Xiao Bao immediately leaped up and rushed into the cracked ceiling. "Bower, don't run!" The female ghost screamed and rushed forward. The room became quiet again. Li Weiran, who had been deep in thought in the corner, seemed to have just woken up. He slowly raises his head to look and murmurs in a low voice, "Di Mingju's son, isn't it better if he died?" He reaches out and takes off the red scarf covering his eyes. His fingertips carelessly stroke his eyes, the corner of his mouth hooking up into a faint sneer. "What's more, this is a rare opportunity. Killing him has nothing to do with me. Even if it's you, Mayan, you can't blame me, can you?" Chapter 3250. Thus, Li Weiran waited quietly and leisurely. From time to time, the sounds of intense fighting and collapsing walls could be heard. The foundations and outer walls of the 3 buildings in Kangwu City were built with special materials. They were also equipped with powerful defensive runes. Thus, no matter how they fought, this building wouldn't collapse. However, the interior of the room was just an ordinary bluestone brick wall. As long as they could withstand a huge impact, they would collapse. With such a huge commotion, there was no way the other people in Kangwu City wouldn't have noticed. But until now, no one had come out to interfere. Li Weiran gently twirled the red silk in his hand as he thought nonchalantly. That child's strength really made people look at him in a new light. A pure and untainted immortal body. At such a young age, his strength was already comparable to a peak hollow immortal, a first-level golden immortal. Unfortunately, he was still a little too tender. That woman looked crazy, but her strength was stronger than most of the people in Kangwu City. The child was destined to die in the hands of that crazy woman. Li Weiran's lips curled up again. "Di Mingju, if you knew that your son died in a place like this, what kind of expression would you have? I'm really looking forward to it." But in the next moment, that stubborn little face and icy blue eyes flashed in front of him. That face was 60 to 70% similar to Mu Yin. And when she stood in front of Mu Yin and didn't let anyone hurt her mother, those icy blue eyes, Li Weiran frowned, his originally happy mood suddenly tinged with annoyance. Boom! At this moment, the ceiling of the room completely collapsed. A small figure covered in blood fell in front of him. In the distance, the hysterical scream of the female ghost and the rumbling of the walls collapsing could be heard. "Bower, don't think that you can escape Mother's palm like this. Mother would rather kill you with my own hands than let you die because of that vixen, Mother's Bower, ah." The voice became more and more ear-piercing and nearer. Li Weiran glanced at Xiao Bao, only to see the purple flames coiling around his arm, as if they wanted to spread into his body. However, the strange sword firmly suppressed the rising flames, and the blade of the sword let out a wailing hum. Li Weiran got closer and used his finger to lightly pick up the purple flames. He couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. It was actually purple apex fire. Anyone below the Xian immortal realm wouldn't be able to escape if they were to be incinerated. Li Weiran couldn't help but look at the Bixia sword again. This sword could actually block the spread of the purple apex fire. However, he probably wouldn't be able to hold on for much longer. As if sensing someone approaching, Xiao Bao, who was lying on the ground, struggled to raise his head. Blood flowed down his forehead, blurring his vision. The pain coming from his left arm was bone-piercing. Even his soul felt the fear of being burned. However, he could not retreat. He couldn't die. Mother still hasn't come out of Tianguang ruins. Right now, his mother doesn't have the slightest bit of power to resist. How could he allow anyone to hurt his mother? Nyangqin, a low and tender voice, spits out from between his cracked lips and teeth. Her small and frail body. Even though she was covered in cuts and bruises, she still stubbornly wanted to protect her most important family. Li Weiran looked at this scene in a daze, his hands unknowingly clenched into fists. Scenes from a long time ago seemed to appear in his mind. He did not want to recall those scenes at all. Chapter 3251. Xiao Bao raised his head in a daze and saw a pair of familiar icy blue eyes. A hoarse voice murmured softly with hope, attachment, and closeness. Daddy. Is Daddy here? Is Daddy here to protect me and Mommy? With just this one thought, the pain and torment that his small body endured suddenly exploded because of this moment of relaxation. Xiao Bao couldn't take it anymore and fainted. On his arm, the purple apex fire burned brighter and brighter. The evil warding sword wailed in pain and despair. He could no longer suppress the purple apex fire. If the purple apex fire invaded his lungs and soul, the little master would die without a doubt. But at this time, the female ghost finally broke the boulder that trapped her. A sharp, strange laugh accompanied the sound of a sharp blade piercing through the air. Bower! Bower! Mommy finally found you. Mommy already said that you couldn't escape from my palm. Her long fingernails were stained with gravel and blood, revealing a hair-raising greenish-purple color as she ruthlessly clawed at Xiao Bao's back. However, just as the fingernails were about to touch Xiao Bao, suddenly, a hand reached out from the side. Pucci! The white slender fingers pierced through the dirty white robe and the emaciated body of the female ghost. The female ghost's sinister smile froze on her face. Her pale purple lips trembled as if she wanted to say something. But in the next moment, her body was flung out like a meteor, piercing through the wall and disappearing without a trace. Li Weiran took out a handkerchief and slowly wiped away the blood on his hand. Only then did he reach out to pick up the unconscious Xiao Bao. Black threads spread out from his palm and wrapped around his small arm. In a split second, the black threads seemed to have a life of their own as they began to devour the purple apex fire. This removal process was obviously very painful. Xiao Bao let out a low moan as his small body unconsciously struggled and trembled. Li Weiran looked at the dirty little ball in his arms in disgust and threw him on the ground. But the black threads that wrapped around the purple apex fire did not disappear. Instead, they sped up. Suddenly, Li Weiran stopped moving and turned to look at a corner of the room. Xiao Bao! He saw Mu Yin, who was sleeping peacefully, jump up from the ground, her face full of anxiety. Ma Quishan also slowly woke up. Looking at Xiao Bao, who was covered in wounds, he let out an angry roar. Li Weiran, you are too crazy. They wouldn't even let such a young child off. However, Mu Yin couldn't be bothered to look at her surroundings or investigate what had happened. She rushed to Xiao Bao's side and picked him up. Her body trembled involuntarily as she felt the dampness and coldness of it. His pair of peach blossom eyes were instantly dyed scarlet. Don't be afraid, Xiao Bao. She coaxed him in a low and soft voice, but she couldn't hide the trembling of her voice. Xiao Bao, don't be afraid. Nyangqin won't let anything happen to you. His fingers trembled as he pressed on his thin wrist for a long time before he found a pulse. There were many wounds on his body, and his internal organs were also damaged by the impact. But the most serious damage was to the meridians in his arms. There were clearly no signs of burning, but that part of the meridian seemed to have been sucked dry of water, withering and necrotic. Xiao Bao was just a little kid. How did he endure this kind of pain? Mu Yin felt as if someone was fiercely grabbing her heart. It was so painful that she could barely breathe. Chapter 3252. Nyangqin. He feels a familiar aura and embrace. Xiao Bao opens his eyes in a daze. Seeing the familiar face right in front of him, a weak smile blooms on his pale little face. It's really Nyangqin. Great! Xiao Bao is held in Nyangqin's arms again. Mu Yin fights back the urge to cry and stuffs an elixir into his mouth. Does Xiao Bao hurt? No. It hurts, knowing that Nyangqin is fine. Even the pain in his body becomes insignificant. Xiao Bao swallows the elixir and rubs against Mu Yan's chest. The voice in his ears gets further and further away, and he finally falls into a deep sleep. Mu Yan takes out the Tian Mo Qin, and her fingertips quickly pluck the strings. The next moment, like a storm, notes circulate in the room. A silver light emits from the Tian Mo Qin, wrapping around Xiao Bao's body. Xiao Bao, who is already unconscious, sleeps even more soundly. His slender little arm is cut in the air, exposing the already dried-up meridians. But as the sound of the qin plays, these meridians begin to glow with vitality again, just that they're broken into pieces. Mu Yin loosens the strings, and the pads of her 10 fingers face each other, then slowly separate. Strands of translucent silk threads were pulled out from her fingertips. Ma Quishan's eyes almost pop out as he watches from the side. Miss, what is she doing? Sewing up the broken meridians? How is this possible? Wrong. What is that thread pulled out from between her fingers? It's obviously invisible and intangible. So how could the broken meridians be sewn up? And not even the slightest trace is left. Until Mu Yin sews up Xiao Bao's arm. That lotus-like little hand becomes as fair as jade again, clean and flawless, as if it had never been hurt. Ma Quishan suddenly comes back to his senses. Miss, how is the little master? Mu Yin caresses Xiao Bao's warm and smooth little hand, making sure that the meridians in his arm are as good as before, and slowly exhales. The next moment, she feels her back completely wet and cold. Beads of sweat fall from her forehead from time to time, wetting her messy hair. Mu Yin casually brushed her messy hair to one side and said faintly, Xiao Bao is fine now. Thank you for informing me when you entered the Tianguang ruins. Ma Quishan's face instantly turned red. Miss, you're exaggerating. I didn't do anything, and I didn't have the ability to protect the young master. Fortunately, you're powerful. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to make it out of Tianguang ruins in time to save little master. Speaking of this, Ma Quishan really admired his new master from the bottom of his heart, even though he had heard all sorts of things about Tianguang ruins. However, Ma Quishan didn't realize that there was a rule in Tianguang ruins that prohibited newcomers from leaving for 3 months until he actually entered it. At that time, he felt like he was done for. Even if the time ratio between the Tianguang ruins and reality was 10-1, 3 months would still require at least 10 days. If he were to leave after 10 days, would the young master still be alive? However, he didn't expect that he would tell him about his young master's situation. The young lady dragged him to the resurrection point and took out a strange key. The light from the key enveloped the two of them, and the next moment, Ma Quishan found himself back in reality. Everyone knew that the iron law of Tianguang ruins couldn't be violated. Even if a powerful cultivator entered, it was the same. But all of this became an exception when it came to the young lady. Mu Yin doesn't pay attention to Ma Quishan's compliments. She sends Xiao Bao back to the space and turns to look at Li Weiran. Chapter 3253. In an instant, she meets a pair of bone-chilling ice-blue eyes. Mu Yan's heart shrinks. At this moment, she finally sees Li Weiran's appearance clearly, compared to the clear and bright appearance of a young man when his eyes were covered with a red silk scarf. At this moment, Li Weiran's ice-blue eyes are bottomless. The curvature of his lips is no longer gentle and bashful like before. Instead, it's tainted with a creepy evil. It's clearly just a pair of eyes, but the man in front of her already gives off a completely different feeling. He's no longer the gentle and polished youth, but an extremely aggressive adult man. This pair of eyes is indeed somewhat similar to Di Mingju's, but the feeling this man gives off is completely different from Di Mingju's. Surly, unruly, evil, willful. It's impossible to guess what he wants. Mu Yin coldly looks at the person in front of her. You heard Xiao Bao? Li Weiran slowly wipes his hands with a cloth. He carelessly replies, If I said no, would Mu Yin believe me? Stop quibbling. Mu Yin hasn't spoken yet, but Ma Quishan is already furious. Before I entered Tianguang ruins, you wanted to kill the little master's spiritual pet. The little master refused, so you didn't hesitate to kill him. If it wasn't for me and Miss coming out quickly, how would the little master still be alive? Li Weiran's gaze drifts over. Ma Quishan's whole body stiffens, bean-sized beads of sweat rolling down his forehead. He staggers back a step and hides behind Mu Yin. Only then does he dare to take a deep breath. His fear of Li Weiran is rooted in his bones, and he firmly believes that it was Li Weiran who hurt Xiao Bao. Li Weiran disdainfully curls his lips, then turns his gaze to Mu Yin. He grins. I know Mu Yin won't believe me, but I really didn't do anything ruthless. Even if that stupid rabbit was rude to me, I'll spare its life for your sake. The one who hurt your son was a crazy woman who came out of nowhere, disheveled and dirty like a ghost. She caught your son and treated him as her own. The little guy didn't obey, so he was severely injured by him. Towards the end, Li Weiran even revealed a smile, as if he was asking for credit. Not only did I not hurt him, I even saved him. Otherwise, Mayan, if you come out now, what you would see is your son's corpse. You should be thanking me. You're lying. Ma Quishan poked his head out from behind Mu Yin and said in a trembling voice, the talismans that Miss stuck on the door are intact. If someone really broke in, how could these defensive talismans not be activated at all? Furthermore, before I entered the Tianguang ruins, you clearly said that you were going to kill Little Master and his spiritual pet. Little Master was beaten until he vomited blood. You're a cold-blooded and heartless guy. You can even hurt a child. How can you save people? Li Weiran's face darkened, impatience and violence surging in his eyes. Then he laughed softly. All right, I admit that I wanted to kill your son. So what? In this world, as long as someone offends me, I will definitely make them pay 1,000 times the price. Jun Mayan, it was your son's spiritual pet who provoked me first. Isn't it right for me to make him pay with his blood? Mu Yan's grip on the 7 absolutes sword tightened. The surging killing intent in her eyes seemed to turn into frost, freezing thousands of miles. Chapter 3254. Li Weiran's hands unknowingly clenched, his nails digging deep into his flesh, blood seeping out. But he didn't seem to feel it. The smile on his face became more bloodthirsty and sinister. What? You want to avenge your son? Ah, Junmine, you can't really think that you're really my... Before he could finish his words, he heard a cold voice from the other side that was suppressing her anger. Enough, shut up. Tell me, where's the crazy woman who hurt Xiaobao? Li Weiran was stunned. His expression was dazed for a moment. What did you say? Mayan pursed her lips, as if she was unwilling. But she still said in a low voice, Li Weiran, thank you for protecting Xiaobao. Li Weiran tilted his head slightly and said in a daze, how did you know? Mayan rolled her eyes. Do you think I'm an idiot? The battle here was so tragic. If you wanted to kill Xiaobao, it would be as easy as blowing off dust. Why did you have to make such a big scene? This pervert at most just watched him die. He was even watching the show with relish. He let Xiaobao fall into a bitter battle and desperate situation. But what was the relationship between Li Weiran and Xiaobao? He had no obligation to save Xiaobao. To lend a helping hand to Xiaobao at the critical moment was already extremely benevolent, no matter how much resentment and vigilance she had towards Li Weiran. At this moment, she was also filled with gratitude towards the man in front of her, grateful that he could let Xiaobao live. Li Weiran blinked, and after a while, he laughed softly. Well, Mayan, you're so smart. How could you be an idiot? Ma Qian's face was full of tears. I'm not smart. I'm an idiot. Mayan felt that Li Weiran's smile was different from his usual one. It was as if the mask on his face had been taken off in an instant. But Mayan immediately threw that matter to the back of her mind. She said with a calm face, where's the crazy woman? Li Weiran pointed to the hole on the left side of the ceiling. She should be there. I'll throw her. But unfortunately, he didn't finish his words. Mayan's figure had already shot out like an arrow released from a bow. In this world, there was no one who didn't pay a painful price after hurting her baby. Very quickly, Mu Yin found the white-clothed female ghost. Bower! Bower! The female ghost staggered forward. The bloody hole in his chest had already healed, but his dirty clothes were already soaked in blood. His lush green eyes meet Mayan's. Her face instantly contorted with malevolence. Vixen! Vixen! Not only did you steal my husband, you also want to steal my Bao heir. You killed my Bao heir. I'm going to kill you. No, I will destroy your face first. Let's see how you can seduce people. His long fingernails scratched at her face. Mayan flips her wrist, and the Tian Chin appears in her hand. Her fingertips pluck the strings. Tens of thousands of swords whizzed towards the female ghost. However, at the moment when it was about to attack the female ghost, her chest glowed with a faint light. In an instant, all the air blades disappeared without a trace. The long, poisonous fingernails were already right in front of him. Mind dodges. In the next moment, she sees the corner of the female ghost's mouth curling into a strange smile. A cold light flashed in her palm, and a dagger flickering with blue and purple light appeared in her hand. She ruthlessly slashed at Mayan. Chapter 3255. Even if the dagger hasn't touched the body yet, she can feel the heat of the burning flame and the destructive energy fluctuations. Mu Yan's pupil shrinks slightly. It's actually the purple apex fire. No wonder the meridians in Xiao Bao's hand are so badly burned. Mu Yan's face completely darkens. Her figure flashes, and she retreats several meters away. The female ghost laughs unscrupulously. Bitch, are you afraid? Your attack can't hurt me, but my purple apex fire can take your life. Today you're dead. Mu Yan sneers. So you're an array master proficient in talismans. No wonder the talisman I stuck on the door didn't have the slightest reaction. But saying that my attack can't hurt you? Aren't you a bit too confident? It's just a trifling Qian Kuan shifting array. Do you really think I can't break it? The female ghost's expression stiffens, and her laughter abruptly stops. Mu Yan has already plucked the strings of the Tian Mo Chin. Starry Sky Curtain activates. The lustrous light emits from the Tian Mo Chin, gathering in the air and transforming into a translucent array disk. The female ghost's eyes suddenly widen, and she lets out an incredulous roar, drawing an array in the air. How is this possible? How is this possible? 7 rainbow-colored swords appear above Mu Yan's head, as the array disk shines with a dazzling light. The 7 swords make a fierce buzzing sound at the same time, whistling out. Pa! There's a cracking sound coming from the female ghost chest. It's followed by a mournful scream, like the cry of a god and the cry of a ghost. The female ghost, who has already been seriously injured by Li Weiran, no longer has the strength to resist. She falls heavily from above, falling in front of Li Weiran. Gravel splashes everywhere, and Li Weiran takes several steps back. He sees the cold Mu Yin following closely behind, stepping on the female ghost's face. The corners of her mouth reveal a sinister sneer, like an Azura from hell. Don't be afraid. Worried that I'll kill you? There's no need. How could I allow you to die so easily? As she speaks, the phantom doppelganger begins to play the Tian Mo Chin that's floating in the air. Floating like a dream activates. The female ghost had no choice but to fall into the nightmare. Her body began to tremble violently, and the expression on her face was twisted as if she was experiencing the most terrible thing in the world. Li Weiran gulped. He thought to himself, fortunately, he didn't kill that little bastard. Otherwise, he would be the one being skinned and tortured by Jun Mayan right now. Mu Yin kicks the female ghost, who won't listen to her twitching and moaning to the side, and doesn't look at it again. As for what this crazy woman's background and difficulties were, they would have to wait until she received sufficient punishment before they could find out. The most important thing now was, how long has it been since I left Tianguang Ruins? Mu Yin turned to look at Ma Qian. Ma Qian was startled. It's been 2 hours. Mu Yin found a corner and sat down, holding the floating light jade key in her hand. Miss you, what do you want to do? Mu Yin. There are only 2 days left before the first ranking update. I have to hurry up. Hurry up and do what? Mu Yin hooks up her lips. Of course it's to reach the top of the carnage list. Floating Island, Tianguang Ruins. This was the base of Thunder Gang. Although it was called a base, it was actually just a tall building that looked relatively intact. At the bottom of the building, there were dozens of cultivators imprisoned. Clang, clang, clang. The sound of metal clanking could be heard, causing the people imprisoned in the prison to tremble, their faces revealing a frightened and bewildered expression. Chapter 32:56. Here he comes again. Here he comes again. Looks like someone's buying a slot in the Thunder Gang again. I wonder who among us will be killed this time. Whispering to each other, several strong men in the same clothes strode into the dungeon. His eyes darted around the crowd. Finally, they stopped at one of the cells. Today's human sacrifices are all of you. Bring all of them out. No. Spare me, hero. I don't want to die. There were 5 people in the chosen cell. Mournful cries and pleas came from the cell. The others let out a long sigh of relief. The first is Lu Dazhuang of Qingfeng Hill, 1,200 points. Second, Swift Sword Li Lacoon, 960 points. The fifth, Brilliant Horse Saddle, 638 points. Why is this human sacrifice so high? Ma Huangsan's head was lowered numbly. Suddenly, someone grabbed his hair and yanked it back. Don't you know this Ma Huangsan? Back then, he was also a ruthless person who had made it onto the slaughter list. He's also at the mysterious life realm. Unfortunately, he doesn't know what's good for him. Back then, the gang leader invited him to join the Thunder Gang, but he refused. So, the gang leader captured him as a human sacrifice. This time, we chose this cell because gang leader plans to enjoy this high-level, human sacrifice to get into the top 3. Ma Huangsan's hands were tied with a thick iron chain. There were deep wounds all over his body. At this time, he was grabbed by the hair and slapped in the face, but he couldn't fight back. His expression didn't change at all. Soon, all 5 of them were taken out of the dungeon. The other 4 people who were crying were sent to the market in the trading position. Only Ma Huangsan was taken to the hall and thrown in front of Lei Wudi. Gang leader, I brought the human sacrifice you wanted. Gang leader, now that you've enjoyed the human sacrifice, you'll definitely surpass that bitch Lien Riue and trample on her. What's the West River Moon, which is made up of women? How dare you strut around in front of our Thunder Gang? After we kill them, we'll make those girls kneel in front of us and beg for mercy. Unbridled laughter filled the entire hall. Lei Wudi proudly walked toward Ma Huang'an. Right at this moment, a loud explosion was heard. The building, which was tens of meters tall, was cut in half. The violent tremors caused a lot of dust to fall from the ceiling of the hall. What happened? Could it be that West River Moon's people are attacking? Are they tired of living? Lei Wudi's expression turned cold, and he was about to spread out his divine sense. Lei Wudi, I don't have much time. Are you going to come out and accept your death? Or do you want me to tear down your entire base? It was a clear and melodious female voice. However, the words he said caused everyone in the hall to reveal expressions of disbelief. Even Ma Huang'an, who was lying numbly on the ground, could not help but raise his head slightly. Instead of being angry, Lei Wudi laughed. Good. What gall, daring to come directly to our Thunderclap Gang's encampment to provoke us. I'd like to see where this bitch came from. How dare she be so reckless? After saying that, he grabbed Ma Huang'an by the collar and lifted her into the air. The next moment, his figure had disappeared. The others in the hall looked at each other and hurriedly followed him out. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.